accomplished. Now, you and I were chatting before we got started here about the numbers that you track and why they're important. You said before you met me, you really didn't understand the importance of tracking your numbers. What was the epiphany for you? Why all of a sudden did you say, oh, yeah, I need to pay attention to this?
Well, it was really the way you presented it to us, Craig. I mean, you told us first thing you ever tell everybody to do is you need an overflow of leads. But if you have an overflow of leads, but then you don't know what's happening to those leads, then it's useless. It's not, you're not going to get a business from this. You've just got a job. You're just going to be chasing leads, not knowing whether they're good sources or everything. So, obviously I delve deeper into the system you offer us, and obviously you show us how to measure leads, how to work out percentages of what we should be getting at each point in a transaction. And then you've got something to work from to be able to see where your problems are and where your successes are.
Hey, Gillian, what's your personality type?
I'm a DC.
Okay, you're a DC. Well, that actually is perfect, right? Because the C part of your personality is very into the numbers and being accurate. And the D part of your personality is like, let's get stuff done. So you said that Paul basically is head of the listing department. You take care of lead generation, knowing the numbers. And as I started off our podcast here, and you've heard me say this over and over again, in my experience, the very top agents in the United States and Canada know their numbers. Like when I do one-day meetings with any very, very, very top Craig Proctor member, they'll come with books and binders and checklists, and they know what's going on in the business. Most agents are they're not like that, right? They don't know their numbers. And when you start actually tracking, and we're going to get into what you track, it is a bit of a wake-up call, right? You realize, yeah. So pretty much anything that's going sideways in your business, you're able to determine that very quickly and fix it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do that daily. That is a daily task I do. Is I monitor my numbers through every stage, because your problems actually move around. They move around. They can be lead generation, they can be conversion, they can be anything. So you've got to know your numbers all the time. I'm suppose in a way I'm pretty sad like that. I can quote them on any day to you, my numbers where we are. But if you don't know that, you've just got a job and not a business. It frustrates me when I talk to other agents and I say, well, how many leads did you raise this last month, and how many deals did you close? And they don't know. Well, it's just going to be a job. You're not going to have the success that you crave if you don't do that part of the job.
Yeah, we make it mandatory with all of the realtors that we coach. They have to send us in a weekly report, and we want to know, well, how many leads did you generate this week? How many of those leads did you actually call? How many did you reach? How many appointments did you book? How many listings did you take on? How many buyer contracts? How many sales? We know our numbers, and that's just part of proper coaching. Now let's get into. I know you track a lot, but let's get into some of the most important things that you track. And if you find there's a problem with these things you track, what that indicates and what you do to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most important things is the number of leads you're generating. How many of those are you actually converting them to a conversation? They are, a conversation in my mind is if we have got to the point where we've been able to ask the question, are you looking to buy in the next 3 to 6 months? So if you're not getting that far, it's not a conversation. So, we look at leads to conversations. Now, my first thing I do, if those numbers aren't where I want them to be, then I go back to my inside sales agents and listen to their calls, because in many cases, I find they drifted from the Craig Proctor script, the universal callback script. Very often that is the number one reason for that happening. Now, obviously,
let me just interrupt to make sure everyone got that. So leads to conversion. What Gillian does is she's looking at this daily. How many leads are our inside sales agents able to reach and have meaningful conversations? How many conversions do we have? And when that number is low, if you just ask the inside salespeople, well, you know what, the leads are no good or no one answers the phone or whatever, but we actually go in and we listen to their calls because the inside salesperson may actually believe they're doing a good job. And it's all the subtle little things that we track that maybe they miss out on, but you're listening to going, oh, it's right there. It's just change this to that. And they just fall off the script or drift, as you said.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's too easy to drift because it's a tough job being an inside sales agent, just call after call after call and that. So, you've got that danger of them drifting from the script. So
it really is it's the hardest position to recruit for is the inside sales agent.
Yeah. And it's probably one of the most important ones on the job, on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now you've got 3 inside sales agents and you've got 7 outside sales agents.
That's right.
And you're looking for more of both, but you're in desperate need of more good outside sales agents.
Yeah, the trouble is at the moment, Craig, and it's a really nice trouble to have, but it's still a problem, is I've got too much business for my 7 outside sales agents. I'm overloading them. And the danger with overloading them is that then they start to pick and choose or, start to lose people because they've not got time to deal with them. So, that's as bad a problem as not enough business. But, as I say, it's that overflow of business I've got where I'm overloading my agents. So I desperately need outside sales agents.
Right, so here's a good time to talk about this. We're going to get back to tracking and the specific metrics that Gillian tracks. We already talked about lead to conversion ratio. And if that's low, she goes back and she listens to recordings of her inside sales agents, identifies the problem because inside sales agents, they drift. We all drift. That's why we need constant training. I don't know. They say the average person forgets how to do their job over the weekend. So it's probably true. But back to this need that you have right now to grow your outside sales agent team. If you are in the greater Orlando, Florida area, and you're watching this, check this out. If you got into real estate because you want to make a lot more money and you want to have a life, in other words, that's freedom, right? Is you need the money and you need the time. You should, and you're in Orlando, you're a realtor in Orlando, and you're serious about making more money and having more time and more freedom in your life, you should reach out to Gillian Redman here, because here's how this deal works. This is the sweetest deal in real estate. Gillian here in front of you, she pays for all the leads. I've been training her now for whatever it is, a decade, and she's invests hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. She spends her own money and her own time being coached up and being an expert on lead generation. Okay, the leads go to the inside sales department. The inside sales department, as you can see, Gillian's monitoring them every single day. They're expertly trained to call and qualify the buyer and seller leads. Now, if you were an outside sales agent on Gillian's team, you literally go from listing appointment to listing appointment. Here's how this deal would work. You would say to Gillian, okay, I want to work whatever it is, 30, 40 hours this week. You're going to book off your personal time. It's Saturday morning, I got something with my kid. You book your time off, but if you're available, they're going to book you. And you would simply go from listing appointment to buyer appointment to listing appointment. Now, it gets better than this. So first of all, you have no advertising costs. Gillian takes care of that. The leads are all pre-qualified and set by the inside sales agent. So you are not getting leads. You are getting listing appointments, not getting leads. Does this sound good? Now, it even gets better. You go out on this listing appointment that Gillian's team has set for you. You get the listing signed. How do you do that? Using Gillian's listing presentation. We've worked for a long time, Gillian and I, perfecting her listing presentation. So basically, you're saying the same great things in the same order over and over again to get the same great results. So Gillian becomes your coach. She coaches you because the better you do, the better she does. Now, you get the listing signed. It gets even better than this. What happens is you send the listing into Gillian's office. You're done. Gillian's admin team takes the picture of the house, gets the key cut, installs the key box, delivers the feature sheets, calls the seller every single week. Folks, I don't know how much that is per hour that you can make, but you do an hour, you invest an hour getting the listing, maybe an hour presenting the offer. You got 2 hours into this. You're making $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 an hour. Folks, if you're a realtor in Orlando, Florida, and you're serious about making more money, don't be skeptical about this. And you know what? Some of you are you know who Gillian is, and you'll be like, how's she doing this? This is how she does it. Now, you want to reach out to her. What would be the best way for realtors to contact you?
However they want, Craig. They can call in the office, they can text me, they can phone, whatever.
They can Google,
whatever. Google, yep. They can find me however they want. But yeah, we want.
You can ride your bike to her office, drive a car, ride a horse.
Yeah, and not necessarily real estate agents. I mean, if somebody is in another industry and they are like the idea of being a real estate agent, we'll walk them through that with the option of training them from the start. Okay,
so that's cool. So you don't have to, if you're watching this, well, you're probably a realtor if you're watching this, but not necessarily. If you're not in real estate, but you're thinking of getting your license, so you'll coach people up who want to be realtors, show them how to get their license.
Absolutely.
And basically you're creating a new realtor from scratch.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hard profession to break into, and that, many agents think it's easy and want to do it and fail, unfortunately. So, we will even do that with people as well. And my newest recruit at the moment is a brand new agent like that. And he's only been with us just over 3-4 weeks, and he's already got his first deal under contract.
That's awesome. So all you have to do is have the right personality, the right amount of drive. Whether you have a license or not it's easier, obviously, if you have a license. But if not, it's not a showstopper. Okay. What we'll do is we'll drop in Gillian Redman's contact information in the comments below. We'll drop that in. All her you can call her, whatever, but it's just to have a conversation. All good things start with a conversation. Gillian, that's how you and I met. Just by circumstance. I showed up at one of your company meetings, and the rest is history. Let's get back to things that you track. So, our topic today is the best agents know their numbers. I'm interviewing one of the best agents in Florida right now. And Gillian's explaining things that are important that she tracks. Now, some of you, might think, well, that tracking, that sounds kind of boring. Gillian's got a D personality, but she's got enough of that C personality. She's like, I want to be accurate. The D personality doesn't want to be taken advantage of. The C part of Gillian's personality is, I want to know my numbers. I want to be accurate. What other things are you tracking on a daily basis?
I'm tracking, everybody has a number. Whatever job they do within our team, whether they're an outside sales agent or whether they're an admin or whatever, everybody has got a number, even down to how many times we expect the phone to ring before somebody picks it up. Okay,
I'm writing this one down. Everyone has a number. I'm going to show this to my wife at later time to ask her what my number is. But everybody has a number. Okay, so what would be the number for an inside sales agent? What would be their number?
They're inside sales agents. We expect them to make a minimum of 150 calls a day on an 8-hour shift. And from those 150 calls, we expect them to speak to at least have valid conversations with at least 15% of those people.
Okay, 150 calls, and they need to have a meaningful conversation with 15%. Okay, and so when that number's not there, you're watching these recorded calls, you're listening to these calls, and you're like, okay, what's going wrong? Okay, outside sales agents, what's their numbers?
Outside sales agents, they should always have 2 pending deals, 2 deals in escrow under contract at any time.
Okay. Now, if that isn't happening, what's usually going on?
Retrain. We retrain. In very often cases, it's the fact that they're not getting the VIP signed, but they're not getting the VIP agreement signed with buyers because they're not actually presenting it. So every appointment that they go on, we have a post-appointment recap form that they have to fill in. So they either have to come back with an agreement signed or a story, and nobody likes to bring a story back. So, that correlates directly by how many people sign an agreement to work with us exclusively as to how many people we get under contract. So, we're looking that for every person that they meet with, they should be signing a minimum of 50% of them to VIP agreement, and then 50% of those minimum again should be going under contract.
Okay, let me jump in here. Everyone hear that? Okay, so outside sales agents, when we're talking about working with buyers, the deal is we're not running around all loosey-goosey with buyers. The first meeting is all about getting the buyer to sign a buyer agreement, because we only want to work with people we're representing. Just like if you were representing a seller, you wouldn't advertise or open house their property or do anything without a listing agreement. So we coach you up on, how do I do this? How do I get a buyer to meet with me? How do I get a buyer to sign a buyer agency agreement? Because you can't make a buyer sign a buyer agency agreement. You can only have the correct presentation that compels them to want to sign the buyer agency agreement. So the minimum standards here, if you're an outside sales agent on Gillian's team, we got to have 2 pendings at all times, 2 pendings. And if you go out and you meet with a buyer, you're coming back with one of 2 things. You're coming back with a signed buyer agency agreement, or you're coming back with a story. And over the last 30 years, being in real estate, I heard a lot of stories from my outside sales agents. I think one of my favorite stories, Gillian, is one of my outside sales agents. They came back to the office with this story. They didn't get the listing. And it was a past client of mine who had called me. Like, this is a gift, right? It's a past client. I sold them a couple of houses. They called in. I sent my outside sales agent. I let my client know I was sending my outside sales agent that had stepped out of listing. And my agent came back to the office and said, yeah, I didn't get the listing. They liked me, but they didn't like you. I thought, well, that's a pretty good story, because they've used me 2 or 3 times. Okay, now tell me I want to know more about the story paperwork. So they either come back with the buyer agency agreement, or what kind of questions are in, if I come back to your office without the buyer agency agreement, what kind of information do you want to know?
I need to know what went wrong. I mean, the first question is did you do the presentation? And in 90% of the times was, well, no, we didn't get to it, or, it was that type of response. So that.
Well, no, isn't that the very purpose of the meeting? So it's funny that they didn't quote get to the reason they were meeting with the client in the first place. Okay. All right. So, sometimes what we find is, it's just that the outside sales agent isn't confident enough about the presentation, and they actually feel like they're doing something wrong in the beginning, right? It's like, well, I'm making, because they don't have a lot of confidence in their offer, right? So I always say to salespeople, the first sale that you need to make is to yourself. If you don't actually believe in what you're offering, then you're going to have a hard time convincing others of that. Okay, so.
It's believing in the product, Craig. That's what it is. I mean, it's them understanding to believe in what they're delivering, that it's the right thing for the client, but it's also going to get them the business that they want. It's believing in it. And, that's why I train with my agents 3 times a week. We train for 2 hours every Wednesday and for 30 minutes every Monday and Friday. And we train constantly on delivery of these products, because they've got to believe in it. Because if somebody tries to present something that they don't believe in, then it doesn't come true to people. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. I had an inside sales agent once that was she was consistently getting nowhere with everybody. And so at the Remax office, the walls were really thin, and I could hear what she was saying. And one day, I just go into her office and have a conversation with her, and things aren't going well, and you're not setting up many appointments. And she admitted, she said, if I was a buyer, I would never come in and meet with an agent. Right there. It's like, there's our problem right there. you don't have to speak further. She didn't actually believe in that if she was a client, she would actually do this. So let's go to OSAs. Let's go back to OSAs here for a second. So we've talked about what's going to happen is the buyer appointments are set up, and your buyer agents, your outside sales agents, are either going to come back with the VIP buyer agreement signed, which happens about 50% of the time. And about 50% of the buyers that sign a buyer agency agreement are going to close?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay. So that means to get a closing on the buy end, you need 4 appointments set up.
Correct.
Okay. 4, because only 2 are going to sign, and of the 2 that sign, 1's going to buy. Okay, good. So we've reverse engineered that. Now let's talk about the listing side. So, I mean, again, this is a sweet deal. Orlando Realtors, I mean, pay attention now. You would simply be going from a listing appointment to a listing appointment. You just heard Gillian spends 3 hours a week personally coaching you up to be to have a killer listing presentation. What are the numbers there? So how your outside sales agents, typically how many appointments or listing appointments are they going out on a week?
About 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Okay. And of the 3 or 4, what's the expectation? How many should I be listing?
5%, 85% to listing from appointment.
Okay, so that's really strong. Does everyone see that? Gillian is sending you out on listing appointments where the team has an 85% success rate. Now, I tell you, if I'm an OSA, that's really, if I'm an agent, that's really important to me, because that number right there, that 85% tells me I'm not being run out on a bunch of unqualified listing appointments. Okay. Sure. Okay. So why isn't it 100%? What happens the other 15% of the time?
People are unrealistic in what they want to sell their home for. That's the biggest reason there.
So would it be safe to say that the other 15%, you don't take those listings on because you don't want them because the seller's unrealistic?
Yeah. Okay. The 15% we don't take is generally us saying we can't help the person because for one reason or other, they're being unrealistic.
There's another thing that we didn't touch on that's a major benefit as well, working with Gillian Redman's team, is Gillian will coach you up on how to actually negotiate a higher fee, whether you're working with buyers or sellers. So not only is Gillian's listing presentation, it has an 85% success rate. You're listing 85% of these preset, pre-qualified appointments that you would be going out on, but you're going to get a higher fee. Now, a lot of naysayers are like, well, my marketplace is different and you could never get a higher fee. It's just because you don't know how to do it. That's all.
That's right. You've got to show value. Yep. Price is only an issue in the absence of value.
That's another writer downer, folks. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Now, you don't have to believe Gillian on the fact that, she gets higher. You could talk to any Craig Proctor member at Gillian's level, any Titanium, any Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, they're all getting higher. It isn't like a one-off thing. Oh, this only works in Orlando. No, Craig Proctor members at the upper level are getting higher fees by quite a bit when they work with buyers or sellers. So if you were in a room with hundreds of Craig Proctor members, they're getting a much higher fee than you, you'd start to think, well, maybe I could do this as well. Okay, what other things do you track?
We track performance as well. We put performance guarantees when we list a home. When we work with the buyer, we guarantee performance levels that we're going to get. So obviously, I track all those performance guarantees we give, how we're going to communicate with people and things like that. I track those to the relevant person that's actually responsible for delivering those performances within any transaction.
Okay, give me an example of a performance guarantee, just so everybody understands this.
Okay, we say that we will communicate with you when you are under contract with us, either as a listing agreement or as a buyer under contract. We will communicate with you every week. And if we don't, then we will pay you money at the end of the deal. If we fail to deliver what we promise, we put a money value on all of our performances.
Okay, so we call that the communication guarantee. The biggest complaint that buyers and sellers have about realtors, the number one reason they wouldn't go back with their last realtor is poor communication. That's the big beef. And the last time I looked at these stats from NAR, it was something like 72% of home sellers wouldn't use their last agent because of poor communication. So you guys know the deal. We've all worked with, expired listings. You've called the home seller whose their house didn't sell. And the seller's beef is, well, I listed my house with the agent and I never heard back from them. I was always chasing my realtor to get feedback. I never knew what was going on. So one of the ways Craig Proctor members set themselves apart from the gazillions of realtors in your marketplace is we're going to offer guarantees, and not like verbal, I guarantee I'm going to do a great job. How would you communicate that guarantee? Gillian, what would you, if I was the seller, how would you communicate this listing communication guarantee? It's
part of our contract. It's actually part of our written contract that we give when we do our listing presentation. We explain to the sellers what we're going to do, and then it's every performance guarantee that we are offering them, giving them, to show them that we mean to be a big part of this event with them, this process with them. We actually have that in writing. It's a page that's part of our actual written contract that the seller signs and we sign to say that we're in this together.
Right. So you would say something like this to the seller. It'd be in writing, not just verbal, that if you list your house with us, we're going to communicate with you once a week or twice a week. We're going to give you updates on all the showings, what we're doing to advertise and market the property. Now, if we fail to do this, we fail to communicate with you every week and give you this feedback on the showings, the feedback, what we're doing to market and advertise, what happens?
They will get $100 for every time we fail.
Okay, so that's the key right there, folks. That's why a Craig Proctor performance guarantee actually works. It has teeth. Now, the word guarantee is far overused everywhere, right? Every realtor's like, well, I guarantee I'll sell your home for fast. I guarantee to sell it for top dollar. No, all of our guarantees are in writing, and there's a consequence if we don't perform. So we have a series of these guarantees that you make buyers and sellers, which totally sets you apart from all the realtors.
Yeah, we have 8. We have 8 on every listing agreement, 8 performance guarantees that we back with some money value.
Hey, if you want to know what those 8 guarantees are, you need to call Gillian. You just pick up the phone and call her. She'll go through them all. Like, seriously, if you had a 10-minute conversation with Gillian, she would share with you stuff that will blow you away. But if you want to make more money, okay, selling real estate, and you want to have more time, believe me, everything you want to do in real estate is already being done by the Redman team in the greater Orlando, Florida area. What exact marketplaces are you working there?
We work west of Orlando, mainly the Disney area, around Davenport, Claremont, and Kissimmee. That's our main area, but we do spread over further into the Orlando area. If business is there for us, but that's our key market area is Winter Garden, Claremont, Davenport, and Kissimmee. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up here in a minute. What's your goal for 2022?
200 families served.
200 families served. Okay. Now let's step into 2023. What do you think you can do there?
I'd like it. No, we are going to. I'm not going to use the word like. We are going to do at least 350.
350. Okay. Well, I mean, after this awesome interview, I assume we're going to have lots of realtors contacting you. And I hope so.
To be able to do those numbers.
Yes,
I can't do those numbers on my own. Paul and I cannot do them on our own.
Well, I'm sure, with the growth that you've had, I'm sure that you'll do that or exceed those numbers. I think with your personality, you could exceed it. Usually that's what was happening to me. I would set a goal and I would blow past that goal. So we have a tendency to overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, but we also have a tendency to underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. All right. Now, Today's interview was with Gillian Redman. Okay, she's in the greater Orlando. She gave you all the little towns and cities she works in. So here's what you're going to do. If you're in Florida, you're going to contact her. Okay, now you don't have to be in Florida to contact. You could be any part of the United States or Canada. If you want to just verify her story, she's a real deal. Now, if you're not in Gillian Redman's marketplace, okay, and you would like to do what Gillian Redman is doing in the Orlando area, you want to contact me. Okay, and I will have a conversation with you about how this would work for you. And you can book a call with me by going to proctorcall.com. So my name, proctorcall.com. We'll put the information in the comments below. You would go to my acuity day timer, pick a day and time that works for you. We'll have a conversation about where you are in your business and where you want to go. Now, free of charge, I would give you my advice. I would say, okay, I understand where you're at. I understand your marketplace. I understand what you're currently doing, but here's what I would do if I was you. These are the approaches I would use. And if you like my approach and you think, well, this was an interesting call, I think Craig could help me, like Gillian thought, well, maybe Craig can help me, then I would love to work with you. The conversation is free. If we spend an hour on the phone, you think, well, that's not for me. You can just continue doing what you're doing now, right? So everything good starts with a conversation. And Gillian, I'm so glad that I got to meet you and Paul several years ago.
I'm so glad we met you, Craig. Absolutely. You changed our lives totally. You did. So that we're always grateful to you. And you know that I'll do anything for you and Todd as well, because you've changed our lives.
Well, I want to thank you very much for spending the time with us. I know you're super busy. Great interview. I hope everyone does call out to Gillian. Very nice person. Get to know her better. Thank you so much for doing this, and say hi to Paul for me.
I will. Pleasure, Craig.
And thank you everyone for watching the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show.